Welcome to Thrones Rewritten! Hey, Westeros fans! Today we're diving into an epic Game of Thrones what-if tale that flips the script on a pivotal moment, where a certain king's hunt takes a different turn, sparking a wildfire of loyalty, betrayal, and war. Picture Robert Baratheon, Ned Stark, and the Lannisters locked in a brutal dance for the Iron Throne, with the Seven Kingdoms hanging in the balance. Expect clashing swords, cunning plots, and a realm pushed to the brink. If you love reimagining Westeros as much as we do, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more alternate histories. Let's rewrite the game, together. The hunt had been a raucous affair, with King Robert Baratheon's laughter booming through the Kingswood like thunder. His men, flushed with wine and the thrill of the chase, had driven a monstrous boar from its lair. Robert, never one to shy from a challenge, had insisted on facing it alone, his warhammer gleaming in the dappled light. The beast charged, tusks like curved daggers, and Robert swung with all his might. The blow landed true, shattering the boar's skull, but not before a tusk grazed his thigh, a shallow cut, not the gutting wound of another fate. "Seven hells, that's a beast!" Robert roared, blood trickling down his leg as he waved off the maesters. "A scratch, nothing more. Fetch me wine." His court laughed relieved, and Cersei's smile was tight, her eyes glinting with something unreadable. Ned Stark, watching from the sidelines, felt a chill despite the summer warmth. The king lived, but the game was far from over. King's Landing reeked of ambition and rot, and Robert Baratheon felt both pressing against him as he sat the Iron Throne. It was a month since the hunt, and his leg had healed, though the scar itched like a bad omen. The court buzzed with the usual clamors, petitions, flattery, and veiled threats, but Robert's mind was elsewhere. He'd survived the boar, and now he wondered if the gods were mocking him, sparing him for a throne he loathed. Eddard Stark stood at his side, grim as ever, his gray eyes scanning the hall. Robert trusted Ned, perhaps too much, but the man's honesty was a rare anchor in this pit of vipers. "Ned," Robert muttered, leaning close, "I'd rather face another boar than listen to these fools prattle about grain taxes." Ned's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. "You're the king, Robert. Boars are simpler, but this is your fight now." Robert grunted, his gaze drifting to Cersei, seated with their children, Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen. The queen's golden hair caught the torchlight, but her beauty only reminded him Lyanna, gone these many years. Joffrey, though, was no stag's son. Robert had long suspected it, the boy's cruelty too sharp, too Lannister. The hunt had sharpened his instincts, and now he watched Cersei's brothers, Jaime, smug in his white cloak, and Tyrion sipping wine with a knowing smirk, with growing unease. "Enough!" Robert bellowed, cutting off a droning lord. "Court's done. Ned, walk with me." The hall emptied, and Robert led his friend to the gardens where the air was less stifling. "Something's rotten, Ned," he said, voice low. "Cersei's hiding something. Joffrey's he's not right. I need you to dig, quiet-like." Ned frowned, his honor warring with his loyalty. "Robert, you're asking me to spy on your queen. If you suspect treason—" "I suspect worse," Robert snapped. "Do it, Ned, for the realm." Ned nodded, reluctant but resolute. As they parted, Robert felt the throne's weight heavier than ever. He'd survived the boar, but survival was only the beginning. Eddard Stark was no stranger to duty, but this task gnawed at him. King's Landing was a maze of whispers, and he tread carefully, knowing one misstep could spark war. He began with subtle inquiries, speaking to servants and guards, piecing together fragments of truth. Cersei's movements were guarded, her maids loyal to a fault, but Ned's patience was a hunter's patience, honed in the north. He enlisted Jon Arryn's old squire, now a knight named Sir Hugh, who had lingered in the capital after his lord's death. Hugh was reluctant, fearing the Lannisters' reach, but Ned's quiet authority persuaded him. "Watch the queen's men," Ned instructed. "Note who comes and goes from her chambers, but don't be seen." Meanwhile, Ned's daughters, Sansa and Arya, were adjusting to court life with varying success. Sansa, dazzled by Joffrey's charm, spoke dreamily of betrothals, while Arya, ever the wild one, practiced with her wooden sword in the Godswood. Ned worried for them both, but Sansa's talk of Joffrey sharpened his resolve. If Robert's suspicions were true, the boy was no fit match for his daughter. One evening Sir Hugh reported back, pale and trembling. "My lord, I saw Sir Jaime leave the Queen's chambers at midnight. Not once, but thrice this week. They were alone. Ned's heart sank. Incest was a vile accusation, but the pieces fit. Joffrey's golden hair, his lack of Baratheon grit, Cersei's coldness toward Robert. He needed more proof, something undeniable. "Keep watching," he told Hugh, "but be careful. The Lannisters have eyes everywhere." As Hugh slipped away, Ned felt the North calling him home. Winterfell was honest, its dangers clear. Here the danger wore silk and smiled. He penned a letter to Catelyn urging her to prepare the North for unrest, though he kept his words vague. If Robert acted on this truth, blood would spill. Cersei Lannister was no fool. She sensed Robert's newfound vigor, his lingering glances, and Ned Stark's quiet probing. The king's survival had disrupted her plans, but she was a daughter of Tywin Lannister, and she adapted. In her solar she met with Jaime, their stolen moments laced with urgency. "He suspects," Cersei said, pacing. "Robert's not the oaf he plays. If Stark confirms it, we're finished." Jaime, leaning against the wall, shrugged. "Let me kill them both. Robert's fat, Stark's slow. One night, 2 accidents." Cersei slapped him, the sound sharp. "Think, Jaime. Murder now would point to us. We need misdirection, chaos. Father will understand." She summoned Tyrion next, her least favorite brother but the sharpest mind she knew. Tyrion arrived, wine in hand, his mismatched eyes wary. "You look like you're plotting a war, sister. Should I be worried?" "I need your cunning," Cersei said, ignoring his barb. "Robert's sniffing around. Stark's helping him. I want them distracted. Both of them." Tyrion sipped his wine, considering. "A scandal, then. Not about you, too obvious. Something to tear at Stark's honor or Robert's trust. Give me a few days." Tyrion's plan was subtle, as his plans often were. He spread rumors through Varys' network, whispers that Ned Stark was plotting with Renly Baratheon to seize power if Robert fell ill again. The rumors reached Robert's ears, sowing doubt, but Ned's loyalty held firm, for now. Tyrion also arranged for a minor lord to accuse Ned of corruption, a distraction that forced Ned to defend his name publicly. Cersei, meanwhile, tightened her grip on Joffrey. "You're my heir," she told him, stroking his hair. "No one will take that from you. Not Robert, not Stark. Be patient." Joffrey nodded, but his eyes burned with a cruelty that even Cersei sometimes feared. Robert was not blind to the whispers. The court was a battlefield, and he'd fought enough wars to know when he was being flanked. Ned's investigation was slow, too slow, and the rumors about his friend's ambitions stung more than he'd admit. Still, Robert trusted his gut, and his gut said Cersei was the true threat. He sought out his brother Stannis, who had returned to King's Landing at Robert's summons. Stannis was dour, his jaw set like stone, but Robert valued his bluntness. "Stannis," he said over ale in the Red Keep's armory, "if I name Joffrey a bastard, what happens?" Stannis' eyes narrowed. "The realm fractures. The Lannisters will fight. The Tyrells, the Greyjoys, they'll pick sides or carve their own. You'd need proof, Robert, and an army." Robert laughed, a bitter sound. "I've got the throne, don't I, and Ned's north if it comes to it." Stannis didn't smile. "You've got a crown, brother. That's not the same." Robert spent nights poring over old records, searching for anything to bolster his claim. He found nothing concrete, but his resolve hardened. He'd been a warrior once, not this wine-soaked king. The boar's miss had woken something in him, a need to reclaim his legacy. He called a small council meeting, excluding Cersei. "I'm naming Ned Hand again," he declared, ignoring Varys' raised eyebrow and Littlefinger's smirk. "And I want ravens sent to Storm's End and Dragonstone. My brothers need to be ready." "For what, your grace?" Littlefinger asked, all innocence. "For whatever comes," Robert growled. Ned's search bore fruit at last, though it was a bitter harvest. Sir Hugh, reckless in his zeal, had bribed a maid who confirmed Jaime's visits to Cersei's bed. The maid vanished the next day, and Hugh was found dead in an alley, his throat slit. Ned cursed himself for involving the young knight, but the truth was clear now. Cersei and Jaime were lovers, and Joffrey was their son. He confronted Robert in the king's chambers, the weight of his findings like a millstone. "It's true," Ned said, handing Robert a list of witnesses, all too frightened to speak openly. "Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen, they're not yours. Cersei's betrayed you with Jaime." Robert's face darkened, his hands clenching the arms of his chair. For a moment Ned feared he'd strike him, but the king only stood, pacing like a caged beast. "I knew it," he whispered. "I knew it, and I let it fester. Damn her. Damn them all." "We need to act carefully," Ned urged. "Arrest them quietly, exile them to the free cities, avoid war." Robert laughed a hollow sound. "War's coming, Ned. Whether we want it or not. I'll not let Lannister bastards sit my throne." Ned left the king to his fury, knowing the storm was breaking. He wrote to Catelyn again, this time openly. "Prepare Winterfell. War is near." As he sealed the letter, he prayed the gods would spare his family the bloodshed to come. Cersei knew the moment was near. Varys, ever the spider, warned her of Ned's discovery, though he claimed ignorance of Robert's plans. "The king is roused, my lady," Varys murmured. "A stag woken is a dangerous thing." Cersei acted swiftly. She sent Jaime to Casterly Rock with a letter for Tywin, urging him to muster his banners. "We'll need every sword," she told her brother. "If Robert moves against us, we strike first." To Joffrey she gave a different task. "Charm the court," she said. "Make them love you. If Robert disowns you, the people must still see you as their prince." Joffrey, eager to prove himself, held feasts and tourneys, his cruelty masked by a boyish smile. Tyrion, watching from the sidelines, saw the pieces moving. He approached Cersei one night, his voice low. "You're playing a losing game, sister. Robert's alive, and he's angry. Back down, send Jaime away, and beg mercy." Cersei's eyes flashed. "Never. Lannisters don't beg." Tyrion sighed, pouring another cup of wine. "Then gods help us all." King's Landing simmered as summer waned. Robert, bolstered by Ned's proof, prepared to act, though he knew the cost. He summoned his bannermen, quietly rallying Storm's End and the Vale to his cause. Ned, torn between honor and survival, readied the north, his heart heavy with dread. Cersei, defiant, wove her webs, her father's armies gathering in the west. Jaime, now at Casterly Rock, sharpened his sword, vowing to protect his sister and their children. Tyrion, caught between loyalties, wondered if there was a path to peace, or if blood was the only currency left. In the shadows, Varys and Littlefinger played their own games, each nudging the realm toward chaos. The boar had missed, but the true hunt was just beginning. The winds of autumn swept through King's Landing, carrying the scent of salt and unease. King Robert Baratheon stood atop the Red Keep's battlements, his cloak snapping in the breeze. Below, the city sprawled, a cauldron of ambition and fear. He'd survived the boar, defied death's grasp, but now he faced a foe more insidious, betrayal within his own house. The scar on his thigh ached, a reminder of how close he'd come to oblivion. He gripped his warhammer's haft, its weight grounding him. "Let them come," he muttered to the wind. "I'm not done yet." In the shadows of the keep, ravens took flight, bearing messages of war and loyalty. The board was set, the pieces moving, and the seven kingdoms teetered on the edge of a blade. The small council chamber was a crucible of tension, its air thick with the weight of Robert's decision. He'd called only those he trusted, or needed. Eddard Stark, newly reinstated as Hand. Stannis Baratheon, grim and unyielding. Renly, charming but wary. And Barristan Selmy, whose white cloak gleamed like a beacon of honor. Varys and Littlefinger were absent, their absence a signal of Robert's distrust. "I've proof," Robert said, his voice a low growl. He tossed a parchment onto the table, Ned's meticulous notes detailing Cersei's treason. "Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen, they're not mine. Cersei's lain with her brother, and those children are Lannister bastards." Stannis' jaw tightened, his approval unspoken but clear. Renly leaned back, brows raised. "Bold words, brother. True or not, you're lighting a fuse. The Lannisters won't kneel quietly." "They'll kneel or bleed," Robert snapped. "I'm done with their games. Ned, you'll arrest Cersei and Jaime. Selmy, your Kingsguard will back him. Stannis, ready Dragonstone's fleet. Renly, rally Storm's End." Ned hesitated, his honor chafing at the task. "Robert, if we move openly, war's certain. Exile might—" "No exile," Robert cut in. "They've mocked me long enough. The realm will see justice." Barristan Selmy bowed, his face unreadable. "It will be done, your grace." As the council dispersed, Ned lingered, his gray eyes troubled. "Robert, you're tearing the realm apart to mend your pride." Robert's laugh was bitter. "Pride? This is survival, Ned. Mine, yours, the realms. Do your part, or we're all lost. Ned left in silence, the weight of duty heavier than ever. Robert stared at the Iron Throne's silhouette through the window, its jagged edges a mirror of the path ahead. Eddard Stark moved with the caution of a man crossing thin ice. Arresting a queen was no small matter, and Jaime Lannister was a swordsman without peer. Ned assembled a small force, his own household guard, bolstered by Selmy and a few loyal gold cloaks. He kept the plan tight, knowing Varys' spies lurked in every corner. His daughters were his other concern. Sansa, still enamored with Joffrey, wept when Ned forbade her from seeing him. "He's my prince!" she cried, her dreams of courtly love crumbling. Arya, sharper-eyed, sensed the danger and clung to her wooden sword, needle hidden beneath her cloak. "If Joffrey's bad, I'll stick him," she whispered fiercely. Ned hugged them both, praying he could shield them from the storm. The night of the arrest was moonless, the Red Keep cloaked in shadow. Ned led his men to Cersei's chambers, Selmy at his side. The queen was waiting, her emerald gown shimmering, her expression serene. Jaime stood beside her, hand on his sword, his white cloak discarded. "Lord Stark," Cersei said, her voice silk over steel, "come to play the honorable fool." "Cersei Lannister," Ned said, "you're charged with treason and incest. Yield, and you'll face the king's justice." Jaime laughed, drawing his blade. "Justice? You're a dead man walking, Stark." The clash was swift and brutal. Jaime lunged, his sword a blur, but Selmy met him, their blades ringing like bells. Ned's men surged forward, overwhelming Cersei's guards. The queen fought like a cornered lioness clawing at a captor before Ned pinned her arms. Jaime, outnumbered, faltered under Selmy's relentless assault, taking a gash to his shoulder. "Enough!" Cersei screamed. "Jaime, stop!" Jaime dropped his sword, blood dripping, his eyes locked on Cersei. Ned bound them both, his heart pounding. The Red Keep stirred, whispers of the Queen's arrest spreading like wildfire. Ned sent word to Robert, but unease gnawed at him. This victory felt too easy. Cersei's arrest sent shockwaves through the realm, but the Lannisters were not idle. At Casterly Rock, Tywin Lannister read Jaime's earlier letter, his face a mask of cold fury. His daughter and son imprisoned, his grandchildren branded bastards. Robert had struck at the heart of House Lannister. Tywin summoned his bannermen, the Westerlands rallying to his call. "We march," he told his captains. "The stag will learn what it costs to cross a lion." In King's Landing, Tyrion Lannister watched the chaos unfold with a mix of dread and resignation. Cersei and Jaime were confined to the black cells, their fate uncertain, but Tyrion knew his father's response would be merciless. He sought an audience with Robert, slipping past guards with a jug of arbor gold. "Your Grace," Tyrion said, bowing low, "you've caged my siblings, and I won't pretend I'm pleased. But hear me. War with my father will drown the realm in blood. Let me negotiate. Exile them, strip their titles, but spare their lives." Robert, half drunk and seething, eyed Tyrion like a wolf sizing up prey. Why should I trust a Lannister?" "Because I'm the only one not plotting your death," Tyrion replied, his tone dry. "Give me a chance, or Tywin's armies will." Robert grunted, waving him off. "Talk to Ned, but one wrong move, dwarf, and you'll join your kin in chains." Tyrion found Ned in the Tower of the Hand, poring over maps. "Lord Stark," he began, "you're an honorable man, which is why you're in over your head. My father's coming, and he doesn't lose wars. Let me broker peace." Ned's gaze was flint. "Your sister betrayed the king. Your brother drew steel on me. Why should I believe you?" Tyrion sighed. "Because I'm the only Lannister who'd rather drink than fight. Send me to Casterly Rock. I'll try to leash my father." Ned considered, then nodded. "Go. But if you betray us, Tyrion, no wall will hide you." Tyrion left, knowing he was walking a razor's edge. He penned a letter to Bronn, his sellsword ally, to join him on the road. The game was growing bloodier, and Tyrion needed a blade he could trust. Robert knew war loomed, and he moved to secure his allies. He sent ravens to Storm's End, where Renly was mustering knights, and to Dragonstone, where Stannis prepared his fleet. The Vale, however, was a question mark. Lysa Arryn's silence worried Robert, but he trusted Ned to sway her through Jon Arryn's memory. He also reached out to Dorne, hoping old grudges could be set aside. Doran Martell's reply was cautious, promising no swords but neutrality, a small victory as Robert feared the Dornish siding with Tywin. The North was his strongest card, with Robb Stark rallying bannermen at Ned's command. Robert felt a pang for Catelyn, knowing she'd bear the burden of Winterfell's defense. In King's Landing, Robert faced the court's unrest. Joffrey, confined to his chambers, was a lightning rod. Some lords pitied him, others scorned him. Robert visited the boy, his supposed son, and found only defiance. "You're no father," Joffrey spat. "I'll be king yet." Robert struck him, a backhand that sent Joffrey sprawling. "You're no son of mine!" he growled, storming out. The act haunted him, but mercy was a luxury he couldn't afford. He turned to Stannis for counsel, the brothers meeting in the Red Keep's war room. "If Tywin marches," Stannis said, "we'll need every man. The crown's coffers are empty. Littlefinger's ledgers are a maze of debt." "Then we'll sell Lannister gold," Robert said grimly. "Confiscate their assets here. Cersei's jewels, Jaime's armor. Melt it down if we must." Stannis nodded, a rare flicker of approval. "And the succession? If Joffrey's out, I'm next." Robert hesitated. Stannis was duty incarnate, but the realm needed fire, not stone. "We'll settle it when the dust clears," he said, clapping his brother's shoulder. Stannis' eyes darkened, but he said nothing. Ned's victory in arresting Cersei was short-lived. The city buzzed with rumors, and the small folk, swayed by Joffrey's charm offensive, whispered of Stark cruelty. Ned knew he was a stranger here, his honor a liability in a den of liars. He doubled the guard on Cersei and Jaime, fearing a rescue attempt, and sent Sansa and Arya to the Vale under Sir Roderick's protection. "Keep them safe," he told his old master-at-arms. "Whatever comes." Sansa wept, begging to stay, but Arya, sensing the truth, hugged Ned fiercely. "Don't die, father," she whispered. Ned's throat tightened as he watched them go, their ship vanishing into the mist. His investigation deepened, uncovering Varys' role in spreading discord. The eunuch met Ned in a shadowed crypt, his smile slippery. "Lord Stark, you've stirred a hornet's nest. The realm needs balance, not vengeance." "Balance?" Ned snapped. "You've fed lies to Robert, to Cersei. Whose side are you on?" Varys shrugged. "The realm's, always. Beware, Lord Hand. Littlefinger's knife is sharper than you know." Ned distrusted both, but Varys' warning rang true. Littlefinger's absence from council meetings was suspicious, and Ned set men to watch him. Meanwhile, reports from the Riverlands spoke of Lannister scouts probing Tullylands. Tywin was moving faster than expected. Ned wrote to Robb, urging haste, and to Catelyn, confessing his fears. "I've done my duty, Cat, but it may cost us all." He sealed the letter, praying it wasn't his last. Tywin Lannister's host was a machine of war, 30,000 strong, marching east from Casterly Rock. Sir Kevan, his brother, led the vanguard, while Gregor Clegane's raiders sowed terror ahead. Tywin's plan was simple: crush Robert's allies before they united, starting with the Riverlands to draw Ned south. Tyrion, riding to intercept his father, reached the host near the Golden Tooth. Bronn flanked him, scanning for threats. Tywin received them in his tent, his gaze cold as winter. "You've come to plead, Tyrion," he said. "Why should I spare traitors?" "Because war's a poor trade for pride," Tyrion replied. "Robert offers exile. Cersei and Jaime live. The children are spared. Fight, and we risk everything." Tywin's lip curled. "Lannisters don't bargain with usurpers. Robert's weak, his allies scattered. We'll take King's Landing, free your siblings, and seat Joffrey." Tyrion hid his despair. "And if you lose?" Tywin's silence was answer enough. He dismissed Tyrion, ordering him to stay with the baggage train, safe but powerless. Tyrion shared a look with Bronn. "Time to make our own moves," he muttered. Bronn grinned, sharpening his dagger. Robert felt the noose tightening. Reports of Tywin's march reached King's Landing, and the small council scrambled. Renly urged a preemptive strike, Stannis a defensive hold, but Robert chose neither. "We meet them in the field," he declared. "I'll lead the host myself." Ned protested, fearing for Robert's life, but the king was adamant. "I'm no craven to hide behind walls. Tywin wants a fight, he'll get one." Robert rallied 10,000 men from the Crown Lands, bolstered by Storm's End knights. He sent Stannis to secure the coast, fearing a Lannister fleet, and Renly to court the Tyrells, whose swords could tip the scales. Ned remained in the capital, tasked with holding the city and guarding the prisoners. Before departing, Robert visited Cersei in the black cells. She sat defiant, her beauty unbowed by chains. "You'll lose," she said. "My father will burn the city to ash." Robert leaned close, his voice a rumble. "I've faced worse than lions, Cersei. Pray your father's wiser than you." He left her in darkness, his resolve steel. The army marched west, Robert at its head, his warhammer slung across his back. The boar had spared him, and now he'd prove why. Ned's rule in King's Landing was a trial by fire. Littlefinger resurfaced, offering loans to bolster the city's defenses, but Ned sensed a trap. He confronted the man in the brothel Littlefinger called his office. "What's your game, Baelish?" Ned demanded. Littlefinger smirked. "Survival, Lord Stark. You've made enemies, and I merely navigate them." Ned's men found evidence of Littlefinger's dealings with Tywin, letters promising gold for betrayal. Ned arrested him, but not before Littlefinger's agents spread chaos, inciting a riot among the small folk. The city burned as Ned fought to restore order, his guards stretched thin. In the chaos, a shadow moved. Jaime Lannister, freed by a bribed jailer, slipped from the cells, leaving Cersei behind to ensure her safety. He vanished into the city, a ghost with a sword, vowing vengeance. Ned learned of the escape too late, his fury tempered by exhaustion. He stood on the Red Keep's walls, watching flames flicker below. The wolf was cornered, and the lions were closing in. The Seven Kingdoms trembled as the armies converged. Robert's host marched to meet Tywin's, the Riverlands their battleground. Ned held King's Landing, but Jaime's escape and Littlefinger's betrayal weakened his grip. Cersei, still a prisoner, smiled in her cell, knowing her brother was free. Tyrion, sidelined by Tywin, plotted with Bronn, seeking a way to avert disaster. Stannis' ships patrolled the narrow sea, while Renly's talks with the Tyrells hung by a thread. In the north, Robb Stark's banners flew, ready to march south at Ned's word. The boar's miss had spared Robert, but fate was not so kind to the realm. Blood would spill, and the throne's true cost would soon be paid. The Trident's waters ran red with the promise of battle, its banks churned to mud by the march of armies. King Robert Baratheon stood atop a rise, his warhammer resting on his shoulder, his eyes fixed on the horizon where Tywin Lannister's host gleamed like a golden serpent. The boar had spared him, but this fight would not. He felt alive, the old fire of rebellion kindling in his chest. "No more running," he muttered, his breath misting in the autumn chill. "Today, we end it." Far to the south, King's Landing simmered under Eddard Stark's strained command, a city on the brink of betrayal. In the north, Robb Stark's banners snapped in the wind, marching to their father's aid. The Seven Kingdoms held its breath, waiting for the clash that would reshape the Iron Throne's fate. Robert's army, 12,000 strong, was a patchwork of Crown Lands levies, Storm's End knights, and a scattering of Vale clansmen won by Ned's letters to Lysa Arryn. Tywin's host outnumbered them, 30,000 disciplined Westermen, with Gregor Clegane's raiders as their brutal spearhead. The armies met near Derry, where the Trident forked, the ground soft and treacherous. Robert rode at the fore, his black destrier snorting, his antlered helm gleaming. "Tywin!" he roared, voice carrying over the din. "Face me, you craven, or crawl back to your rock!" Tywin, astride a white stallion, did not answer. His banners, crimson and gold, fluttered as his lines formed, archers and pikemen locking into place. Sir Kevan Lannister commanded the right, while Gregor loomed on the left, his great sword already bloodied from skirmishes. The battle began with a hail of arrows, darkening the sky. Robert's shield took 3 shafts before he spurred forward, his knights thundering behind. He aimed for Tywin's center, where the lion's standard flew. The clash was chaos. Steel on steel, screams of men and horses, the mud sucking at boots and hooves. Robert swung his hammer, caving in a knight's breastplate, then another, his laughter wild. "For the realm!" he bellowed. Tywin's line bent but held, his spearmen driving back Robert's charge. Gregor carved a bloody path, felling men like wheat, until Sir Loras Tyrell, sent by Renly's last-minute alliance, met him blade to blade. The Knight of Flowers was no match for the mountain's strength, but his speed kept him alive, dancing around Gregor's swings. As dusk fell, the battle hung in balance, both sides bloodied but unbowed. Robert, panting, rallied his men for another push, knowing Tywin's reserves were still fresh. "One more charge," he told his captains, "and we break them." In King's Landing, Eddard Stark fought a different war. Jaime Lannister's escape had cracked the city's fragile order, and Ned's grip weakened by the day. Cersei, still in the black cells, was a symbol. Some called her a martyr, others a whore. The small folk rioted, egged on by Littlefinger's agents, and Ned's gold cloak struggled to hold the gates. He learned of Littlefinger's betrayal too late. Peter Baelish, freed by a bribed guard, had fled to the Vale, leaving chaos in his wake. Ned cursed himself for underestimating the man, but there was no time for regret. Reports from the Riverlands spoke of Robert's battle, and Ned knew he had to hold the capital until Robb's northern host arrived. Varys, ever slippery, approached Ned in the Godswood, his robes blending with the shadows. "Lord Stark, the city's a tinderbox. Jaime's out there gathering cell swords. Free Cersei, send her west, and you might quell this madness." Ned's hand tightened on Ice's hilt. "You'd have me reward treason?" "I'd have you save lives," Varys purred. "The realm bleeds while you play the righteous judge." Ned dismissed him, but the words lingered. He doubled the guard on Cersei, fearing Jaime's return, and sent ravens to Robb, urging haste. His son's reply was brief. "We march, father. Hold fast." Ned prayed the gods would grant them time. Then came the fire. A blaze erupted in Flea Bottom, spreading fast. Its origin is suspicious. Ned led men to fight it only to find looters in the chaos. Jaime's work, he suspected. The city burned, and Ned's heart sank. He was a wolf in a lion's den, and the jaws were closing. Tyrion Lannister, relegated to Tywin's baggage train, chafed at his father's dismissal. The battle raged miles ahead, but Tyrion's mind was on King's Landing. Bronn at his side sharpened his dagger, eyeing the camp's guards. "Your old man's got no use for you," the sellsword said. "Why not make our own play?" Tyrion nodded, his plan forming. He'd seen Tywin's orders. Gregor was to raid the Riverlands' flanks, drawing Robert's reserves, while Kevin pressed the right. But Tyrion knew his father underestimated Robert's ferocity. If the stag broke through, Tywin's line would crumble. Under cover of night, Tyrion and Bronn slipped away, taking a fast horse and a bag of gold. "We're for the capital," Tyrion said. "If I can reach Ned, maybe I can stop this before we're all corpses." Bronn snorted. "You're betting on Stark's honor. Risky." "Riskier than facing father's wrath," Tyrion shot back. They rode hard, dodging Lannister scouts, and reached a smuggler's cove by dawn. A bribe secured a boat to King's Landing, but the sea was rough, mirroring Tyrion's doubts. He needed to convince Ned to spare Cersei, to offer Tywin a way out. If not, the realm would burn, and Tyrion with it. The second day at Derry was bloodier than the first. Robert, sleepless and battered, led a dawn assault, his hammer a blur of death. Tywin's center buckled as Robert's knights drove deep, splitting the Lannister line. Sir Kevin rallied his men, but Robert's ferocity was unmatched. He felled a dozen foes, his roar echoing over the trident. Gregor Clegane's fall turned the tide. Loras Tyrell, bloodied but unyielding, lured the mountain to a muddy ford where his horse stumbled. Loras struck, his blade finding Gregor's neck. The giant fell, and Lannister morale wavered. Tywin, seeing his flank collapse, signaled a retreat, his face grim. Robert pursued, cutting down stragglers, but exhaustion slowed his men. By nightfall, Tywin's host had withdrawn to Harrenhal, licking its wounds. Robert's army camped on the battlefield, too spent to chase. "We've won," Robert told his captains, his voice hoarse. "Tywin's broken, but he's not done. We'd march on Harrenhal at first light." A rider arrived as they feasted, bearing grim news. King's Landing was aflame, Ned besieged. Robert's triumph soured. "Ned!" he growled. "Hold on, damn you!" He sent a raven to Stannis, ordering his fleet to blockade Blackwater Bay, and another to Renly, demanding Tyrell swords. The war wasn't over. Not yet. Ned's world was fire and steel. The King's Landing riots worsened, Jaime's sellsword striking from the shadows. Ned's men held the Red Keep, but the city beyond was lost, its streets a maze of looters and corpses. He stood on the battlements, ice in hand, when Tyrion Lannister appeared, escorted by grim-faced guards. "Lord Stark," Tyrion said, raising his hands, "I'm here to talk, not fight. Let me see Cersei. I can end this." Ned's eyes narrowed. "Your brother's burning my city. Why should I trust you?" "Because I'm the only one trying to save it," Tyrion snapped. "Tywin's lost at Derry. Robert's coming. Give me Cersei. Let me take her to my father, and we'll bend the knee." Ned hesitated, Varys' words echoing. Honor demanded Cersei face justice, but the city's screams drowned out principle. One condition, he said. Joffrey stays. He's no heir, but he's no threat in chains. Tyrion nodded, relief flickering. Ned led him to the black cells where Cersei sat, her defiance frayed but unbroken. "Tyrion," she hissed, "you're a fool to think Stark's word holds." "It's better than a noose," Tyrion replied. "Come with me, or we all die." Ned released her, his gut twisting. Cersei's glare promised retribution, but she followed Tyrion, flanked by Bronn and Ned's men. As they boarded a ship for the Westerlands, Ned prayed he hadn't loosed a greater evil. Then Jaime struck. His sellswords breached the Red Keep's gates, a desperate bid to free Cersei. Too late. Ned met him in the throne room, ice against Jaime's stolen blade. The fight was brutal, Jaime's skill matched by Ned's resolve. "You've lost," Ned grunted, parrying a thrust. "Cersei's gone." Jaime faltered, and Ned's strike caught his wrist, disarming him. "Yield," Ned said, "or die." Jaime knelt, bloodied and broken. Ned bound him, the throne's shadow looming over them. The city still burned, but the wolf had held. Tyrion and Cersei reached Harrenhal under cover of night, Bronn cutting down a scout who saw them. Tywin's camp was a fortress, its men shaken but loyal. Tyrion faced his father in the ruined castle's hall, Cersei at his side. "Robert's won," Tyrion said bluntly. "Derry's lost, Gregor is dead, Kevin's limping. Stark's freed Cersei to me, offering terms. Exile for her and Jaime, Joffrey confined. Bend the knee, father, or we're finished." Tywin's eyes were ice. "You'd have me grovel?" "I'd have you live," Tyrion shot back. "The Tyrells are with Robert, the North's marching south, we can't win." Cersei's voice was venom. "I'll not flee like a dog. Joffrey's my son, not my legacy." Tywin silenced her with a look. "Enough. Tyrion, you'll carry my answer to Stark. We'll parley, but not surrender." Tyrion left, knowing Tywin's pride would cost them. He rode for King's Landing, Bronn at his side, praying Ned's honor and Robert's mercy could still save them. Robert's army reached King's Landing a fortnight after Derry, weary but victorious. The city was scarred, its fires quenched, but Ned's stand had preserved the Red Keep. Robert embraced his friend, relief warring with rage. "You let Cersei go," he growled, "but you held the throne. Good enough." Ned recounted Jaime's capture, Littlefinger's flight, and Tyrion's plea. Robert listened, his face darkening. "Tywin wants to talk." "Fine, but his spawn pay for their treason." The parley took place on the King's Road, under a truce banner. Tywin rode alone, his bearing regal despite defeat. Tyrion stood with Ned, his stomach knotted. Robert, flanked by Stannis and Renly, faced the Lion Lord. "Your children betrayed me," Robert said. "Jaime's mine, Cersei's exiled. Joffrey's no heir. He'll take the black or die. Swear fealty, Tywin, and keep your lands." Tywin's voice was steel. "You've won a battle, Baratheon, not the war. My house endures." Robert laughed, cold and final. "Test me, and it won't." Tywin knelt, the act bitter, his eyes promising future reckonings. The Westerlands would bend, but not break. Cersei, already sailing for Essos, was beyond Robert's reach. Jaime, in chains, faced exile to the wall, his defiance muted by loss. Ned's work was done, but the cost was heavy. He prepared to return north, Robb's host meeting him at the Twins. His son, taller now, embraced him, the direwolf banner proud. "You're safe," Robb said, voice thick. "Not yet," Ned replied. "The realm's fragile. Robert needs us." Sansa and Arya, safe in the Vale, would join them at Winterfell. Sansa's dreams of princes were gone, replaced by a quiet strength. Arya, ever wild, spoke of Braavos, her eyes alight. Ned smiled, weary but whole. He left King's Landing to Robert, Stannis named hand, Renly tasked with rebuilding the south. Varys vanished, his webs unraveled, while Littlefinger's shadow lingered in the Vale. Ned knew the game wasn't over, but for now the wolf could rest. Robert sat the Iron Throne, its edges biting his hands. Tywin's fealty was a hollow victory, the realms stitched together with blood and oaths. Joffrey, stripped of titles, was sent to the wall, his cruelty caged. Myrcella and Tommen, spared as innocents, were fostered in Dorne, far from Lannister schemes. The boar had missed, and Robert endured. But the throne's weight was unrelenting. He dreamed of Lyanna, of battles won, of a realm at peace. "Ned," he murmured alone in the hall. "We did it, for now." In Essos, Cersei plotted, her eyes on a golden future. In the north, Robb trained, his direwolf at his side. In King's Landing, Stannis watched, duty his only guide. The stag had triumphed, but the Game of Thrones played on, its next move hidden in the shadows.